Thinking about trying POTA but not sure where to begin? You're in the right place. Today, we're going to show you exactly how to get started and have fun activating parks. We'll cover the gear you'll need, how to choose a park, how to make contacts, and the simple steps that can get you on the air quickly. So grab your radio, bring your sense of adventure, and let's get started with Ham Radio Diva's guide to starting POTA.
Usually when you think about a trip to your local state park, there's like a very specific set of expectations.
Right, yeah, like what you're going to see there.
Exactly. You expect to see, hikers with those heavy boots, maybe a family setting up a charcoal grill, or, I don't know, bird watchers standing perfectly still with binoculars.
Oh, for sure.
It's all very tangible, very rooted in the physical environment.
Well, you expect people to be interacting directly with the dirt, right? The trees, the wildlife around them. I mean, that is the whole point of going to a park.
Right. But then you wander down a trail and you see something that it breaks that mold entirely.
Yeah.
You see someone sitting at a picnic table, but instead of unpacking sandwiches, they're pulling out this small battery, little black box, and tossing this ridiculously thin wire up over the branch of an oak tree.
It's quite a sight.
It really is. They put on headphones and start speaking into a microphone, seemingly to absolutely no one.
Just out there in the woods.
Yeah. They are activating a park. And today we're doing a deep dive into this, using a really fascinating document called The Ham Radio Diva's Guide to Mastering POTA. We want to understand exactly how this bizarre, kind of invisible global network actually operates.
And it is the absolute definition of an unexpected encounter. I mean, to the untrained eye, it looks completely solitary.
Maybe even a little eccentric.
Oh, definitely a little eccentric. But in reality, that person sitting alone at the picnic table is likely connecting with dozens, maybe even hundreds of people all over the world at that exact moment.
It's wild.
It is. And the source text we have today, it acts as both a technical manual, but also a cultural passport for anyone who wants to understand how this is happening, or even, try themselves.
Okay.
The roles people play.
Yeah, the guide breaks this entire ecosystem down into two very distinct roles. First, you have the activator.
Right.
This is the person we described earlier, the one who physically drives out to the qualifying state or national park, sets up their gear in the dirt, and starts broadcasting.
And on the other side of that radio wave, you have the hunter.
Okay, the hunter.
The hunter is typically sitting at home, maybe in their living room or like a dedicated Radio Shack, and their entire goal is to scour the airwaves to find and make contact with the activator who's out in the park.
Right, and the guide makes a huge point about a concept called the minimum contacts threshold.
Yes, that's crucial.
Because for an activator to successfully officially activate a park, they can't just go out there, talk to one random person and pack up.
No, that doesn't count.
They have to prove they established a reliable presence in that park by hitting a certain number of confirmed contacts.
Right.
And it sounds exactly like a real-world video game quest.
Oh, it really does.
Like, the activator goes out to the physical location, and the hunters are at home trying to tag them to complete the mission.
And that gamification is the engine driving the entire hobby. I mean, it takes a fairly static activity, just talking on the radio, and turns it into this global scavenger hunt.
I get the appeal of a scavenger hunt for sure, but why is this strict division of labor so crucial?
What do you mean?
Like, why not just have everyone go to a park and talk to each other? Why does the guide place so much emphasis on the hunters sitting at home?
Well, if we connect this to the bigger picture, this division of labor creates a perfectly symbiotic relationship.
Okay.
It's an ecosystem that fundamentally relies on mutual need. Without the hunters sitting at home, the activators out in the field can never reach that minimum contacts threshold to make the activation official.
They'd just be sitting in the woods talking to themselves.
Exactly. And without the activators willing to actually pack up their gear and head out into the elements, the hunters have no new parks to collect or tag.
Wow. So they literally cannot exist without each other.
They can't. And this mutual reliance is the secret sauce of why POTA is famously welcoming.
How so?
Well, imagine you are a brand new operator, right? You are sitting in a park for the first time, fumbling with your microphone, maybe feeling a severe case of imposter syndrome.
Oh, I'd be terrified.
Right. In many technical hobbies, beginners are sort of seen as a nuisance. But here, every single hunter spinning the dial on their radio at home desperately wants to find you.
Because they need the park.
Yes. They want you to succeed. They need your specific park location to add to their collection. You aren't an annoyance on the airwaves, you are the prize.
Man, that is a brilliant psychological hook.
It really is.
It completely removes the anxiety of bothering experienced operators. It basically flips the power dynamic.
Right.
So the beginner sitting in the dirt is suddenly the most popular person on the radio band.
Exactly.
But, and this is a big but that assumes the beginner can actually get their equipment working.
Right.
So what does this all mean? Because when I think of traditional ham radio, I picture something out of, like, a Cold War movie.
Oh, the giant bunkers.
Yeah. A basement filled from floor to ceiling with glowing, expensive machinery, massive dials, and a giant steel satellite dish on the roof.
A very common and honestly highly intimidating stereotype that keeps thousands of people from ever trying the hobby.
Right. So how does the source material tear that stereotype down?
Well, it goes out of its way to emphasize that expensive equipment is absolutely not required.
Okay.
The basic toolkit they outline is remarkably simple. It's just a beginner-friendly radio, a battery, a simple wire antenna, and some method for logging your contacts.
So it sounds less like outfitting a bunker and more like packing a high-tech picnic basket.
That's a great way to put it.
But I have to stop you there because the physics of this are kind of breaking my brain.
How so?
I look at my cell phone, right? It has a battery. It has an antenna inside. But if I go to a state park, I lose my signal if I'm just like 2 miles from a cell tower.
Sure.
How is a person sitting at a picnic table with a thin wire and a little battery talking to someone in Japan?
Well, it comes down to the frequency they are using and the Earth's atmosphere.
Okay.
See, cell phones use frequencies that travel in a direct, straight line of sight. If a mountain or the curvature of the Earth gets in the way, the signal just stops.
Right.
But POTA operators are largely using high-frequency, or HF radio waves. When you pump an HF radio signal into that thin wire you tossed up in the tree, the signal doesn't just shoot along the ground, it shoots up into the sky.
Wait, into the sky. And it hits something.
It hits the ionosphere.
The ionosphere?
Yeah, which is a layer of charged particles high up in the Earth's atmosphere. The ionosphere basically acts like a giant invisible mirror.
Oh, wow.
The radio signal bounces off that atmospheric mirror, arcs back down to Earth, and lands hundreds or thousands of miles away.
So it skips over the mountains.
It skips over the mountains, it skips over the oceans. That is exactly how a tiny battery and a wire can reach another continent. You are literally using the Earth's atmosphere as a satellite.
That is wild. You are basically playing billiards with the sky.
You are. And nature actually helps you here in another really profound way.
What do you mean?
Well, trying to hear a faint radio signal from across the world while sitting in a city is like trying to hear a whisper at a heavy metal concert.
Because of all the noise?
Exactly. Your neighborhood is screaming with invisible electrical noise. Power lines, microwaves, Wi-Fi routers, cheap LED streetlights, they all create a massive noise floor of static.
Oh, I see. But when you go to a state park?
Right. Going to a state park is like stepping out of that heavy metal concert and into a silent library.
Noise floor drops.
That background static vanishes. Suddenly, that faint whisper from Japan is crystal clear. The natural environment itself actually enhances the cheap, simple gear.
Which explains why the guide focuses so intensely on accessibility.
Exactly.
By explicitly stating that affordable radios and wire antennas are entirely sufficient, the hobby is instantly democratized.
Yes.
You don't need a $10,000 home station to participate meaningfully. You open the floodgates to younger people or people who live in apartments where they aren't allowed to put a giant antenna on the roof anyway.
The removal of those financial and spatial barriers is the primary driver behind why POTA has become so massively popular. You just find wide open public land and use the silence of nature to your advantage.
Okay, I'm with you on the physics and I'm with you on a gear. You are sitting at the picnic table, your wire's in the tree, your battery's plugged in.
You're ready to go.
But that is only half the battle. You are now a tiny needle in a massive electromagnetic haystack.
Very true.
The radio spectrum is huge. How do the hunters and the activators actually find each other?
This is where the mechanics of the airwaves come into play, and honestly, where the guide offers some of its most crucial advice. The operators use a system called spotting.
Okay, here's where it gets really interesting. Because I read the spotting section in the source material, and I have to admit, I'm still a little confused.
Let's break it down.
The guide says spotting is basically dropping a digital pin on a central POTA network map, right? So hunters know exactly what frequency you are hiding on.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is.
It's a flare going up that says, hey, I'm right here, come talk to me. But If I'm intentionally off the grid in a remote state park with no Wi-Fi, how am I dropping a digital pin to a central network?
Right, it sounds contradictory.
Am I pulling out my smartphone, or is the radio doing this magically?
Well, most of the time, operators are actually just using their smartphones.
Oh, really?
Yeah. If you have even 1 bar of cell service, you just open the POTA app or website, type in your radio frequency, and hit submit. It updates a live bulletin board on the internet that all the hunters at home are watching.
Okay, but what if you are deep in a national park with zero cell service, like completely dark?
That is where the community aspect shines again. If you have no cell service, you start calling out blindly on your radio, CQ POTA, CQ POTA.
Click.
Eventually, a hunter is going to stumble across your signal. Once you make contact, you simply ask that hunter, hey, I have no internet out here. Can you spot me?
Oh, wow.
Yeah. That hunter, sitting at home with their high-speed internet, will log onto the POTA website and drop the digital pin for you. And within seconds, your radio will just explode with voices of other hunters who saw the spot and tuned in.
So the network essentially takes care of itself.
Exactly.
That makes total sense.
Yeah.
Now, the guide also mentions that operators need to choose the right bands to ensure they get enough traffic to hit their minimum contacts.
Yes.
I've had the term bands, but what does that actually mean in practice?
Think of radio bands like different highways in the sky.
Highways. Okay.
So because of the way the sun interacts with that ionosphere we talked about earlier, different frequencies work better at different times of the day.
Oh, because the sun charges it.
Exactly. So the 20-meter band is like your daytime interstate. The sun is up, the ionosphere is charged, and the 20-meter highway is wide open for international travel.
Right.
But when the sun goes down, that highway closes, the atmosphere changes.
So you have to switch highways.
You have to switch to, say, the 40-meter band, which is the nighttime highway. The guide is essentially trying to teach beginners how to read the weather of the atmosphere so they know which highway will have the most traffic.
That is fascinating. But with all these moving parts, like understanding the atmosphere, changing highways, the adrenaline rush of 50 people suddenly calling out to you after a spot goes live.
It can be overwhelming.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what are the common mistakes the guide is trying to steer beginners away from? I imagine it's really easy to just, break your equipment.
What's surprising is that the most common mistakes aren't technical failures with the radio at all.
Really?
Yeah, they are administrative failures, specifically mistakes with logging the contacts.
Writing down the call signs?
Exactly. The whole system is built on an honor code that's backed by data. When a hunter reaches out and you make contact, you have to accurately record the unique call sign, the time of the contact, and the frequency you were on.
That sounds like a lot to track in the moment.
It is. And if you write down the wrong letter because you were rushing, that hunter doesn't get credit for finding your park.
Oh, no.
And you don't get credit toward your minimum contacts.
Because if your log doesn't match the hunter's log when it all goes into the central database, the contact effectively never happened.
Precisely. The true success of a first activation hinges on avoiding these simple administrative pitfalls. It's not enough to be a good conversationalist on the air. You have to be a meticulous data clerk.
Right.
The guide strongly advises beginners to have a solid, organized logging method, whether that's a dedicated software app on a tablet or just a very neatly organized paper notebook.
Which brings up the crucial final step. The guide just hammers home. Uploading those logs.
Yes.
You pack up your wire, you drive home, and you upload that data file to the POTA network. That is the moment the activation is actually sealed and everyone gets their points.
It requires a level of follow-through that often surprises people. The thrill of the radio contact is instant, but the validation requires discipline. That rigor is what makes the achievements in the hobby feel really earned rather than just given.
Mastering all these mechanics, understanding the atmospheric highways, relying on total strangers to spot you, meticulously logging the data. It's a lot to process.
It is a steep learning curve.
But according to the source material, it ultimately serves a much higher, more rewarding purpose. The mindset behind why people drag batteries into the woods in the first place.
The emotional and psychological payoff.
Yeah. Let's think about this in the context of our everyday lives. Think about how frustrated you get when your smartphone drops like 1 bar of 5G while you're trying to stream a video.
Oh, it's infuriating.
We expect technology to be perfectly seamless and completely invisible.
Okay.
But here, you are intentionally going off the grid, leaving the reliable cellular networks behind, to rely on a technology that is entirely dependent on solar flares, the weather, and the ionosphere.
It's the opposite of seamless.
Right. You are sitting in the dirt, manipulating invisible physics to talk to a stranger. How does this combination change the experience for the operator?
Well, by taking radio out of a static, controlled indoor environment and forcing it into nature, operators experience this really unique blend of technical achievement and environmental presence.
Okay.
If you are sitting in a basement shack, the focus is entirely on the machinery. The environment is sterile.
But when you are in a park...
When you are in a park, the wind might blow your antenna down.
Yeah.
The temperature might drop, freezing your fingers and draining your battery life faster. The ionosphere might suddenly shift, making your signal fade out completely.
So the unpredictability is the point.
The unpredictability isn't a bug, it is the feature. You are forced to be hyper-present in the natural world while simultaneously managing this global communication.
Wow.
That dual focus is what makes POTA one of the most enjoyable activities in amateur radio today. It removes the stagnation.
It makes every single activation a completely unique event. You can go to the exact same park 3 days in a row, string up the exact same wire in the exact same tree, but the weather will be different, the atmospheric conditions will be different, and the hunters you talk to will be different.
Exactly.
It's a hobby that absolutely refuses to let you get bored.
And the guide ultimately frames POTA as the perfect entry point because it is so dynamic. It gets you out of the house and forces you to interact with both the physical reality of your local environment and the global radio community at the exact same time.
Which gives us a lot to think about as we wrap up today's deep dive.
Definitely.
We set out to unpack the Ham Radio Diva's Guide to Mastering POTA, and we found a roadmap that completely shatters those intimidating Cold War bunker stereotypes of amateur radio.
It really does.
POTA is an incredibly welcoming entry point into the hobby. It requires minimal, highly affordable gear. You don't need a massive tower. You just need a beginner-friendly radio, a battery, a simple wire to toss in a tree, and a meticulous logbook.
And we explored the vital ecosystem that makes it all work.
Right.
The dedicated hunters sitting at their home stations, treating the beginners like prize catches, and the activators braving the elements out in the parks. They completely rely on each other to hit minimum contacts, utilizing tools like spotting to drop digital pins across the airwaves so they can find each other in the vastness of the radio spectrum.
And to you listening, the reason this matters, the reason we really wanted to spend time unpacking this guide, is because of what it represents in our modern world.
Yeah.
We live in an era where we rely so heavily on the internet and smartphones for instant, frictionless connection.
We take it for granted.
We really do.
Yeah.
And there is something profoundly grounding, almost rebellious, about returning to the raw fundamentals of communication. Stringing up a single wire in a local park, powering a battery, and bouncing your voice off the Earth's atmosphere just to see who is listening.
It's a powerful thought.
It reminds us that real connection takes effort, and that the effort itself is part of the reward.
Absolutely.
I hope today's Ham Radio Diva's Guide to Starting POTA helped take some of the mystery out of portable operating and showed you just how much fun it can be. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up and leave a comment below. We'd love to hear about your POTA adventures or answer any questions you may have. And don't forget to subscribe and turn on notifications so you never miss a Ham Radio Divas video. Until next time, get on the air, have fun, and remember,